This portion of the video is going to cover adding new transmitters and receivers that have your DVI and USB HID connections on them. So I'm going to assume that you've never configured the DKM FX before, but you've watched my previous Java utility overview video, and we'll start from here where you have the Java utility. So first things first, establish a connection to your DKM FX. And you should see an overview page under matrix view of your DKM switch. The first thing you want to do before you start adding devices is activate the online configuration mode. Once activated, you'll be able to edit names and change configurations live on the switch. And the second thing you're going to want to do is go to the right where it says automatic reload and show port numbers. I recommend you check those both those options so you can automatically update the switch. Otherwise, when you plug in a new device, you can use the refresh button at the top of the page. So when you have your transmitters and receivers built, you want to power them up and then plug them into the switch. And if you can give me a moment, I'm going to plug a device in and we can go through the configuration. So you'll see that I plugged in a transmitter device. The transmitter device is going to show up as a computer icon, and you can use the legend in the bottom right hand of the screen where it says CPU device. I plugged in port 23. The next thing I'm going to want to do is configure this transmitter by right-clicking on the icon and going to Open Device. When I go to Open Device, you'll see that the transmitter's already been configured with the system. If we want to kind of take a step back, I'm just going to delete this laptop one. Okay, and when I delete it, you'll see that this new transmitter showed up in the available extender slots. So if I go back to matrix view and I right click on the device, I can't open the actual device anymore. I can open the extender, but I cannot open the device. So at this point, I can go to Open Extender, see that it's plugged into port 23, and the name actually is still saved as a reference under ext devices, but I need to assign it a transmitter. I need to convert it over to a transmitter that can be accessed by a user. So from here, I need to go down to CPU devices. I need to create a new CPU, and I'm going to give it a name of Computer 1, and I can then take this available device and assign it to Computer 1. I can apply my settings, and you'll see that there's no more available extenders. So let me go plug in another device, and before I do that, I'm just going to go through and let's see, go back to matrix view, and give me a minute. I'm going to plug in the next device. So I plugged in a receiver device, and it shows up as something is already connected to it. At this point, I can right click on it, I can open device, and it looks like it was already assigned to a user station. If I would like to fix this, I can delete the user station, and I'm going to assume when I delete user left, it's going to show up as an available extender slot. Okay. So if I go back to the matrix view and I right click on that icon, I no longer can open the device. However, I can still open extender. I can open up the extender, see it's plugged into port 45, and it's a CON device. So the next thing I want to do is go to the con device. I want to create a new user, or I'm sorry, a new real con device, and I'm going to name it user left. So now that I named it user left, I need to assign it to that extender device that's a receiver, and I can do that by highlighting this this device, moving it over, and applying it. Once I apply it, I can go through and assign it access rights, full access for all transmitters. I can set up my favorites and set up macros. I can apply my changes, and I am now set. In order to add USB 2.0 transmitters or receivers, anything that is USB related requires a fixed port. What I mean by that is when you plug the device into your switch, it needs to be associated to a fixed port. And if you don't see the port numbers, you can go over to this checkbox and enable the show port numbers. So with the fixed port numbers, the first thing I need to do is go under the EXT units, under definition, also known as extension units. I need to create a new USB con or USB CPU device. I'm going to start with a con. You'll see that I did create it. Right now it's set for port 0, but I need to assign that to a real fixed port. So we'll just say it's going to be assigned to port 1. You'll see the ID at the top, the name of the device. I'm going to apply it for port 1. And I need to restart the I/O board that's associated with it. As that's being restarted, I'm going to go under con devices, and what I would like to do is create a new USB console, and I'm going to name it USB 2.0 console. Apply it, and it looks like the I/O board is still restarting here. And you'll see that that new extender unit that I just created shows up under the extender assignment, under the con devices. I can now take this, associate that with the name USB 2.0 console, and apply the changes. From here, I can give it access rights if need be, but for the most part, you only want to give it access rights to associated USB 2.0 transmitters. When you go to matrix view, you're now going to see that port number 1 is a fixed port for a USB con device. You can now take your USB con device and plug it into port 1 and begin switching using the ID information. Once again, in order to find the ID information, you can go under the console or CPU devices, click on your device, and you can see or change or modify the ID at the top. Otherwise, you can see it in the first column here under ID. Last but not least, once you configure your switch, go to File, Save As, and save your configuration just in case you need to use it for later. If you want to activate your configuration, you can go to File, Upload, enter the information for your login credentials, click on the configuration slot that you want to update, check the box that says Activate Configuration After Upload, and press Finish.